15 years, blowing the doors off the competition. Podcasting to planet Earth.
PNRNetworks.com.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
This is a Class 1 emergency. All civilian traffic is barred from streets and highways. Stay in your homes. Stay in your homes. Stay in your homes. Repeat, this is a Class 1 emergency. All civilian traffic is barred from streets and highways.
Do not panic. Do not panic. We've got the quirky films for your quarantine blues. Subject Cinema presents Captive Audience Theater with T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Time to rev it up with another edition of our show right here. Mm-hmm. Welcome to Subject Cinema presents Captive Audience Theater. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
And as the summer starts rolling in,
Yep.
It's time to bring out the big wheels and see what we can do. Of course, big wheels would probably be better for the I think I'd enjoy watching this movie if it were performed on big wheels instead of motorcycles. That'd be funny.
Well, it would reduce your carbon footprint, that's for sure. Would also help build up your leg strength, but, you know, this is where we're talking about movies, not about, exercise.
And we are going to that bastion of bad, the biker movie.
Yes.
For 1969's The Wild Angels, starring
Yes.
Peter Fonda and Bruce Dern.
Yep. Directed by Roger Corman and produced by Roger Corman. Oh, boy. With a screenplay written by Charles B. Griffith and an uncredited Peter Bogdanovich, The Wild Angels tells the story of a motorcycle club, and all of the wacky hijinks they get up in.
Wacky hijinks.
Yeah. Now, the thing about motorcycle movies is, for the most part, now, obviously, the seminal motorcycle films are, they started off with a film like The Wild One, where you had Marlon Brando looking oh so cool in his, leather motorcycle jacket and all that.
Guess.
And
I never thought he looked that good in that.
I thought he looked spectacular. I thought he looked spectacular compared to the people in this movie who looked they just fell out of a dumpster.
Yeah, they do.
For the most part. That whole cool attitude that the biker had, the whole, what are you rebelling against? What have you got? That whole kind of thing that came out of the biker films, and everybody saw that and went, wow, that's awesome. And then, of course, you had the 60s. And the 60s brought a lot of amazing things. The 60s brought incredible music, some beautiful films. It brought us Star Trek. It brought the hippie movement. It also brought wheelbarrows full of drugs and a lot of discontent and violence and uprisings and people getting shot and just a lot of craziness as well, the good and the bad. It also brought the world. It also brought the world.
It brought that too.
Him and me. So apparently the 60s have a lot to answer for.
Yeah.
This film looks at the biker gang known as the Angels. And the members of the gang include the leader, Heavenly Blues, who is usually referred to as Blues, his main lady, Mike, and the other members of the group, gang, however you want to word it,
Yeah.
including Joe Kearns, who goes by the charming nickname Loser, another gentleman, and a lot of other people that are part of the group that are basically, how do I put this? Now, if I was going to be a kind-hearted person, I would say these are, young, disenfranchised people who really feel like they're trying to find their place in the world, and they've, they're on a rough path and all that kind of stuff. The realist part of me is like, these people are the scum of the earth. I'm sorry.
They embrace a neo-Nazi line of thinking.
Which is really hilarious to me. It is absolutely... No, that's actually not accurate. That actually really isn't accurate.
Well, they picked up the symbolism.
They wear the symbolism of the Nazi movement. They wear the Iron Cross. There are swastikas very prominently featured in certain portions of the movie. Mm-hmm. So, warning to all of you out there who are listening to our little show here, because what do we say here on Captive Audience Theater, kids? If we have to suffer, you have to suffer. But I would like to bring up, if that kind of stuff really upsets you or is a trigger warning, there is more than a little bit of Nazi paraphernalia in this film. So if that makes you itchy, you've been warned up front. But the thing is, it actually isn't accurate to say that they ascribe to the neo-Nazi attitudes and such, really, when you think about it. They're just wearing this stuff because it pisses the older generation off. They flat out said that. That's why they even identify with that's why Loser calls himself the Loser, that they identify with these people that, that lost. Their whole thing is that they feel like they're lost and they're angry. I'm like, you're white males. What in the hell do you have to be angry about? I'm sorry. That just...
Don't start wokestering everywhere, please.
Sorry, but there's that. And... I don't see them as actually subscribing to like the white supremacy or even the Nazi dogma. Do you really?
The huge pound out they had with the Mexican gang.
Yeah, but they also shot at the cops, and they have no problem with hurting other people and they seem to hate everybody that's not them.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's pretty much it.
That's a good description of it. Yeah.
Whether the other people are white, black, white, African American, Latin American, whatever. If you're not a member of their group, you're the enemy. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. And that does not make for a really fun movie. It doesn't really make you want to root for these people. In fact, you kind of hope Billy Jack's going to show up and kick all their butts or something like that, especially when you realize, oh crap, these are the main characters. You have to watch them throughout this film. Oh, wonderful. So, the plot of the film, besides the fact of seeing a bunch of people, getting wasted, getting drunk, engaging in casual sex, and occasionally rape.
Occasionally? There's a lot of rape going on.
Occasional
in this movie.
rape, occasional, towards the end of the film, definite rape, and all sorts of other delightful illegalities. #sarcasm. The plot of the film follows thusly, with the Loser's bike having been stolen by a rival gang. And the other members of the gang show up at this garage to try and get the bike back, and they wind up in a bit of a fracas with the Mexican gentlemen that are in the garage that are a bit reticent about giving the bike back. Needless to say, all of this, dust up, somebody happened to call the local constabulary, and the cops show up, and everybody, of course, scatters because cops. So, the police, being the well-rounded, well-heeled, not prone to overreaction types that they are in this film, again, #sarcasm, chase after the angels, but in the ensuing chase, Loser winds up getting injured, and they wind up leaving him behind. And in a moment of absolute, are you effing kidding me, he decides that he's going to escape by stealing a motorcycle that belongs to one of said police officers.
It's a Chips cop cycle.
Yeah. Because that's probably going to be, they're going to be like, oh, you rascally guys. They're not going to look at that and be really upset. No, that's actually not what happens. There is a big shootout the end of which involves one of the cops shooting Loser and shooting him quite severely in the back. And he is captured and brought to a hospital.
Only a big fat rat would shoot a guy in the back.
Bang! Well, the cops are pretty peeved at this point. I mean, and it's really not a good idea to piss off people with guns. That doesn't really work out very well in these sorts of movies. So Blues comes up with the fantabulous idea that what they should do is go to the hospital where Loser is being kept. Loser, I would also like to bring up, is married. So his wife is who is also a member of the gang, is, frantically worried that her husband is going to be, carted off to jail or die, one of the two, because he's actually wounded quite severely.
Yep.
So as I mentioned, Blues gets the absolutely forehead smacking idea that, hey, let's go break Loser out of the hospital. Let's think about that sentence for a minute, shall we? We've got a severely injured person that's taken on a large amount of lead that is probably not healthy for his system in the form of, the bullet. And let's go get him out of the one place that could be possibly, keeping him alive. That dull thud noise you hear is head desking everywhere. So much head desking. So, using his girlfriend as a distraction, Blues and a bunch of the other gang members bust into this hospital and attempt to, get Loser out with a minimum amount of noise, alerting people that they're there, except for the one member of this group of Einsteins that tries to rape an unconscious nurse. That thankfully doesn't happen. But the thing is, the nurse does wind up waking up long enough to see Blues, and she manages to tell the cops what he looks like. They actually do manage to bust Loser out of the hospital, and shock of shocks, he dies. Because, hospital. Because, bullet wound. Oh my frog. So anyway.
And we're just getting started, folks.
So
now the really interesting stuff starts.
Yes. Now, for those of you who are going, good grief, how could these people sink any further into the mire? Oh, wait, we're at the third act, where you, also known as the part where you completely lose all hope for humanity. So, now they've got this dead body of their comrade. What do these geniuses decide to do? Why, they hold a funeral, of course. Because reasons. I mean, they couldn't just put the guy on a wooden raft and send him out into the Pacific and set it on fire, good old Viking funeral or whatever. Considering the amount of drugs and stuff these people were on, his body would probably burn for days. So they wind up forging a death certificate for him. And they wind up having a funeral for him in an actual church in the town that Loser grew up in. So they basically, I think the word kidnap would be a good word to use. Let's use kidnap. They kidnap the minister. I mean, they try and be polite about it at first, but that veneer wears thin exceedingly quickly. And the minister proceeds to go up there and do, his job, trying to give a reasonable sermon for a person that lived a pretty unreasonable life. While this church, this very small church, is full of these filthy, degenerate, sweat hog individuals that are not paying the slightest bit of respect to the fact that they're in a house of the Lord. And, this includes draping a Nazi flag in a church. Oh my God.
No, not really.
No, not really. Yeah. I'm like, oh man. So, Blues, in another moment of, seriously, you're supposed to be the hero of this picture moment, stands up and interrupts the minister and starts talking about, what we want to do. And the minister, in a moment of, I'm sitting there, where we're sitting and watching this movie, I'm going, please don't ask him, please don't ask him, please don't ask him. The minister asks him, he asks him basically, what is it that you want to do? And Blue's answer, I'm paraphrasing, is something along the lines of, we want to ride and we want to be free and we want to not be hassled by the man and we want to have fun and party and all this stuff like that. In a church, during the funeral of their dead friend. Oh, Lord have mercy. So, this breaks down even further because now all of these cretins are completely stirred up by their oh-so-eloquent leader, because basically all they got out of that was party.
Yeah.
So they proceed to beat the minister up, place him in the coffin after they remove Loser's corpse from said. After they prop him up in a chair and put a joint in his mouth. Classy.
Yeah.
And proceed to have a drunken orgy in the church.
Yeah.
During which time, Loser's widow is forcibly injected with heroin and raped by two of the members of the motorcycle gang. Thankfully, this is not dwelled on. It's just implied enough that you sit there and want to gouge your eyes out with a salad fork.
Yeah. In a church.
And yes, this is all going on in a church. Can I
Okay.
just hammer that point home just a little bit more?
We should leave the very tail end off there so they'll take a look at it themselves.
Yeah.
When you say.
Yeah.
We don't want to go too far because we want you to see it.
Because just when you think it can't get worse,
It does.
Yeah.
It's actually considered a seminal film of the motorcycle gang genre.
Why?
Even though it doesn't have very high ratings from critics or fans. Peter Fonda as Blues, Nancy Sinatra, who should have known better, as his girlfriend Mike, Bruce Dern as Loser, Diane Ladd as his wife Gage, was his real life wife at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Buck Taylor, Norman Alden, Michael J. Pollard, and Frank Maxwell, some of the other people in this horrific film.
Oh.
And I love the quote Leonard Maltin gave. He said the Wild Angels is, quote, okay after about 24 beers. In other
Drinking
words,
them or
you
getting
gotta be completely smashed to find this into a good film.
Drinking them or getting hit in the head with them?
It opened the Venice Film Festival.
Ugh.
And we're talking Venice, Italy, not Venice, California, in 1966 to a very tepid response.
Mm-hmm.
But it did well when it came out and basically rode the tails of Easy Rider and really made biker movies a thing for about 4 years.
Yeah. See, a film like Easy Rider, that's how you do a motorcycle movie,
My
right?
stepfather was a huge fan
Yeah.
of these movies. I've seen enough of them in my lifetime.
This movie, however, and I don't want anybody now, all of the stuff that we were talking about in the synopsis of the film and all that stuff like that, I don't want anybody to think that I am looking down at people who ride bikes.
No, it has nothing to do with regular motorcycle drivers.
It doesn't
There's
even
great
have
motorcycle clubs. They have one every year. It would be this weekend if they were doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they are or not
I don't
because
know.
of COVID. But they have a ride up and down the state. They come through Revere right down the main drag every year. I mean, it's hard. I mean, we got stuck waiting to cross the street one year.
Yeah.
When they were coming by. There's hundreds of them.
And it's cool
and
as hell to see them
There's
riding
nothing wrong with that because they're out there
Yeah.
doing this just to have fun.
I don't want anybody to get the idea that I have a problem with motorcycle riders or even people who are in a motorcycle club or gang or however you want to word it. Even people
Club
who are,
and gang are two different things.
well, even people who
A
are
gang is a violent
well, not
motorcycle group like the Hells Angels, which is what this is based on, and was.
Well,
actually,
I don't want to piss those people off either.
No, but they were pissed off. I mean, this is not one of the big things that they did, and this is what inspired Corman to make this film, because he saw a photo of a Hells Angels biker funeral in Life magazine, and I mean, yeah.
I just feel bad because the thing that really makes me sad, movies like this probably got a lot of innocent kids hassled. Just people that ride motorcycles because they want to, or just people that ride in a group that want to. They probably got a lot of crap because people saw movies like this and went, bad people because you ride motorcycles.
Yeah.
Which is nuts, but, oh man, this movie just, oh gosh.
The movie does have some interesting uses outside of it. The end soliloquy by Peter Fonda's character Blues is actually sampled repeatedly in Edgar Wright's film The World's End. Simon Pegg actually recites some of it. Mm-hmm. I wondered where that crap came from.
Well,
now I know.
It couldn't come from his character.
I'm not a big fan of that film. This is honestly this falls into the exploitation motorcycle films.
This movie just made me feel so uncomfortable.
Because Easy Rider is nothing like this.
No.
It's a lot. I mean, it is the classic movie it is for a reason. Mm-hmm. This movie is the exact opposite. Almost.
The thing about this film that bothers me so much is, now I realize that I am probably pissing off film scholars everywhere with the thing I'm about to say, but what the hell.
Never stopped this before.
When you have a movie, you really would like to have in your movie at least one character that you go, oh, well, they're a nice person. I hope they get out of this.
This movie does have one.
Or gosh, I feel bad for that. You should in your film have at least one character that you feel some positive emotion about.
Well, they were aiming at the teenage and 20-something crowds in the late 60s that were disfranchised by Vietnam and everything else.
I don't see how this was going to help.
No, but it made them feel like there was somebody out there communing with them.
I suppose.
There was a saving grace character in this movie.
Whom?
Gaish, the character played by Diane Ladd. She was fairly decent. She screamed at Loser because she thought he was being an idiot. But she cared about him, and she cared about the other people, too, and they all treated her like crap.
Yeah, they all treated her like dirt. That... Yeah, I suppose she's the one character.
She's the one character that... Nancy Sinatra's sort of okay, but only with him. Only with Blues. She's kind of nasty to everybody else.
No, absolutely not. No.
You don't agree?
That woman... No, her character infuriated me.
Okay.
I'm sitting there going, what are you doing? I realized we weren't quite at the... When this film came out, we weren't yet completely into the sexual revolution,
right.
But we were hitting a point where women were starting to be like,
okay,
no.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
No, I am not going to take this. No, I don't deserve to take this.
And we got a lot of that in this movie.
And the idea that a woman would allow herself to be passed around like a joint at a college party, no. Have a little more effing respect for yourself. Mm-hmm. And that made me angry. That pissed me off.
This launched a whole cycle of these kind of films. Bruce Stern starred in quite a few of them. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I remember seeing these.
Peter Fonda.
Well, he only did 2 or 3 of them, though.
Well, he was into the whole counterculture.
Yeah. I remember going to see these kinds of films with my mom and my stepfather at the time. My mom and stepfather were 13 years apart in age, so my mom was in her mid-30s and he was in his early 20s. And we would go off to the drive-in in the late 60s and see these kind of movies, and I would just be sitting there in the back seat reading or playing with my toys. I had no interest in this kind of crap.
Well, this wasn't the kind of film you want to take a child to.
Horror films too.
I would be better. I would, if it was me, I would be more like upset that my kid was seeing this kind of a film, then I would be upset that they were seeing a horror movie. Well, this was a horror movie. You're getting some.
When I say horror movies, I'm talking, Hammer horror.
Right.
There wasn't anything big. It was the stuff coming out from Hammer and Seven Arts that were just one drive-in in particular in Spokane played them all the time, and we went almost every.
But at least those movies.
Or he was also into really schlocky AIP science fiction like The Green Slime.
Yeah,
that movie scarred me for life.
At least the Hammer stuff had Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing in it for crying out loud. So
what was the one we found out the name thanks to Hollywood Elsewhere's Jeffrey Wells? The one with the Chamber of Horrors. Mm-hmm. It has the horror horn and the lightning flash thing. I remember that from when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. I've never seen the movie since then.
Yeah.
I was looking for that for years, and thanks to Jeff Wells, I found it. So, in any case,
the thing about this film, now this is actually something else we've brought up on previous shows. The problem with the film is when you have that certain phrase, I don't care about these characters.
Yeah, this film is full of that.
No, that isn't even the point. I don't care about these characters is one thing. This film, it was, I hate these characters. These people are loathsome. And they're the people that we, the audience, are supposed to sympathize, root for. I don't know.
But again, it was aimed at that audience that did sympathize and, Well,
considering
the people
how
it was aimed at, it spoke to.
Well, considering how the movie ended, I don't really think it was a very glowing endorsement for that kind of lifestyle, do you?
No, I don't either.
But...
In any case, we're going to be doing these kind of shows until the end of June, when Subject Cinema hopefully will come back with some other stuff. But right now, Captive Audience Theater would like to put this film in a category.
Oh, this is very easy. The category this is going in is, once again, jumping on the bandwagon. Once the whole counterculture movement and the portrayal of said and portrayal of the excesses of said was proven to make money, there was no stopping Hollywood. They were going to throw as much sludge on the screen, and whether it stuck or not was completely didn't matter at all. But this is following films like The Wild One, like Easy Rider, and putting a filter on it that's so dark
Except
and
both
dank.
Of those are critically acclaimed.
Yeah. Except for the fact that people actually look at those films and go, wow, that's how you make a movie. You look at this, and this is how you make a news special about, the dangers of gangs or something.
In any case, we hope you'll continue to check these out 2 or 3 times a week. We'll have more new ones and genres all over the road. Mm-hmm. And you can find these movies usually by just searching them on Google or on your Roku. This, what is this one? Wild Angels is available on several services, so you won't have to have any trouble finding it. Mm-hmm. We also urge you to keep up and keep track of all of our other stuff going on eCinema 1, eCinema Boston, Platinum Rose's Garden, Ring Around the Rosie, and other sites, including the Kirkham Report, my music site, Cave Babble with Eric and Valerie Lyon, another podcast we do, Kim's show, Platinum Rose Roleplay over on YouTube, plus all the other stuff. And coming back in June, you will see us returning to our countdown show, Front Row 5 and 10, which will relaunch in the first or second week of June. And don't forget, I've also got my show is back. Catastrophe Vortex returned for the first time in 2 years. Last week, we covered disaster movies and real-life disasters, and I hope that you'll come over if you're a fan of those at catastrophevortex.com. Kim's wrestling show, Ring Around the Rosie, is up every Wednesday or Thursday, depending on what's going on, and covers the world of professional wrestling from a female perspective, and occasionally interjects from yours truly at ringaroundtherosie.net.
Yep. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow me at PlatinumRoselle at Twitter.com.
And I'm at eCinema1 and eCinemaBoston.com, more often on eCinema1 these days. Mm-hmm. And don't forget, you can also find us on Facebook at Popcorn and Roses and on Instagram under PNRNetworks. I have a TikTok account, but I can't remember what I signed in with. So, I did it on my phone because I was looking for Marco's stuff and I couldn't find it, and I may have just signed in with my Facebook. I don't know. We'll see.
Yep.
And in any case,
we hope everybody is keeping safe during these crazy times.
Remember, as the country starts to slowly open again, follow the general rule: mask up and maintain 6 foot of social distancing or whatever your local authorities recommend.
Yep, and wash your hands and call your grandma.
Until next time, I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
When we return for more of Captive Audience Theater.
And may your popcorns always be buttered.
And your roses always be in bloom.
I thought we switched stuff up.
I guess so.
Bye.
You've been listening to Subject Cinema Presents Captive Audience Theater with Kim Brown and T.C. Kirkham. Produced by PNRNetworks, Boston, Massachusetts.
"15 years, blowing the doors off the competition, podcasting to planet Earth.
PNRNetworks.com